गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. We are in we are in Kena Upanishad, verse number 2, and we are seeing when the teacher started saying Chakshushash Chakshuhu, Shrotram Shrotradi, Shrotram, and so on. So, why was it said in this way? See, all senses and mind and pranas become useful. They become useful only when they are in association with the consciousness. If they are not in association with the consciousness, there is no use of them. They cannot be expressed, they do not function, they cannot do what they are supposed to do. And and also we saw that this consciousness is a samhata, that it is untouched. It is the common denominator of all faculties. And this was seconded by other Upanishads also. And then we saw, we started moving in the direction that that the student came up with a thought that because of eyes, ears, etc., we see, hear, etc. But this is wrong, because actually it's due to consciousness. There is something. So the teacher said, yes, all these faculties are functioning due to consciousness. These faculties come into get activated or get unactivated, but consciousness does not get activated or inactivated. It is the common, it is constant, it is continuous. And in this way, it is this consciousness, the constant, which gives the the ability to the various faculties, the senses, pranas, and the mind. And we saw that. And then it said, where are we? Then the student says, why not the same with prana? and say pranasya pranam. There it was, we talked to you about the grammar part of it, and that when everywhere you are saying vachasya vak, shrotrasya shrotram, then why don't you say pranasya pranam? Why the verse? Why the, where is the verse? Then why can't we say pranasya pranaha? Why there, what do you call, what do you call, that why you are saying, the teacher is saying that no, pranasya prana is written in the verse, but it should be taken also as the what you call, as the noun, as in the nominative, not in the genitive. This pranasya, the ending in asya, vachasya, shrotrasya, pranasya, all this sya is the genitive case of the pranas, of the speech. So he is the speech of the speech, he is the eye of the eye, he is the breath of the breath. So like that it was told, but here the teacher is saying take it as in the nominative, and then the total thought that is presented in the verse will be respected. Now we came to, if you have this Shankar Bhashya, page 28, we are starting with the second paragraph, and there it is saying, प्रष्टुः पृष्टस्यार्थस्य ज्ञातुम् इष्टत्वात् श्रोत्रादेः श्रोत्रादिलक्षणं यथा उक्तं ब्रह्म ज्ञात्वा इत्यध्याह्यते ध्येयते अमृता भवन्ति इति फलश्रुतेश्च. So here he says that the here the teacher is telling that without the consciousness, the what you call, the faculties, they cannot function, the pranas cannot function, the mind cannot function, and this was also told before in the what you call, in the Kathopanishad. Now he says yatha, here it says यथा उक्तम ब्रह्म ज्ञात्वा ह्रियते अमृता भवन्ति इति फलश्रुतेश्च ज्ञानादयमृतत्वं प्राप्यते ज्ञात्वा विमुच्यते इति सामर्थ्यात् श्रोत्रादिकरणकलापमुञ्झित्वा श्रोत्रादौ ह्यात्मभावं कृत्वा तद उपाधिः सन् तदात्मना जायते म्रियते संसरति च. So here what the teacher is telling is the teacher is telling he's saying that when, because the word jnatva was used, the word jnatva was used, he said without knowing, until unless we have not recognized that this Brahman only by knowing this Brahman can immortality be gained, not otherwise. And therefore, it, it is natural in the seeker's case, in the questioner's case, that he would like to know uh, uh, what is in the statement, because he wants to know what is the basis, what is the constant, what is the common denominator. He wants to know. When we are saying Shrotrasya Shrotram, what is that? Because he is the same one for all the faculties, no? He is not a different, even though the teacher has said Shrotrasya Shrotram, Chakshusha Chakshuhu, he is using those words. But what is that? That is the common one. It is not separated. And therefore, the word Jnatva must be understood. And what is the meaning of Jnatva here? The meaning of Jnatva is immortality. The meaning of Jnatva is immortality. And when he says, श्रोत्रादि करण कलाप मुंजित्वा श्रोत्रादौ ह्यात्म भावम कृत्वा तत् उपाधि सन तदात्मना जायते म्रियते संसरिति च. So the teacher is telling, so know yourself. And how do you know yourself? If you want to know that common denominator, he says, don't keep looking for it objectively. It has to be Atmatvena. Some object is not going to attain immortality. You want to attain immortality. So come to know yourself. And how does he come to know himself? By giving up. By giving up what? By giving up the object of knowledge. Whatever is the object of knowledge, that has to be given up. What is the object of knowledge? Here in this particular second verse, the object of knowledge is Shrotra, the ears, the eyes, etc., etc., because of which all the data is possible. You know, hearing is going on, you know, tasting is going on, you know, seeing is going on. So he says, give up the object of knowledge. Give up the, yes, okay, object of knowledge. You are listening to me. So give the words that are coming to you, give that up. Then give up what? Give up the instrument of knowledge. What is the instrument of knowledge? Give up the attachment, the ownership, the importance, the value giving. First, you gave up all these things with regards to the speech. Second, you gave up the instrument of knowledge. What is the instrument of knowledge? The eyes and the ears, which are right now interacting. Don't give too much importance. Let the eyes see, let the ears hear. And third, one more. So first is the object of knowledge that has to be given up. Stop identifying with it. Give up the instrument of knowledge and stop identifying that I am the seer, I am the hearer, I am the thinker, I am the knower. Till this I am the something goes on, till then abidance is very difficult. Immortality is far, far away, even though it's here and now, still it's far away. Because we are not available. And the last is the give up the functioning of knowledge itself. See, the I thought. So in this manner, the श्रोत्रादौ ह्यात्म भावम कृत्वा तद उपाधिः सन् तदात्मना जायते म्रियते संसरिति च. So, a common person, he gets identified with the senses, with the mind, with the pranas, with the organ of action, and lives in this world and dies in this world. That is a common man's journey, isn't it? But here, a common man has come as a seeker, and that seeker, he has sorted many things out with regards to the word, with regards to the birth, with regards to the death. He has analyzed it quite a bit. And therefore, he sought a teacher and teacher came into his life. He approached the teacher and he is asking this question. So, are we here as the seeker? Are we here as the common person who is just बहते चले जा रहा है, चरई वेती बहते चला जा रहा है, चलते जा रहा है. जैसे दुनिया चल रही है, everyone buys the latest fashion clothes, you also buy. Everyone buys the latest car, you also buy. Everyone buys particular shares, you also buy. Everyone starts whatever. So many things are going on in the society. We are also just following. Or are we charting out a different path for ourselves? Do we consider ourselves at the crossroads every moment of our life? If we consider ourselves to be at the crossroads at every moment of our life, then we will choose to be the sheep and get hunkofied by the shepherd, or choose the other path which seems to be a little bit difficult, but त्यागे नैके अमृतत्व मानशुः, but takes you to immortality, delivers you at the door of immortality. So here, this is our choice. अतः श्रोत्रादेहे श्रोत्रादि लक्षणं ब्रह्मात्म इति विदित्वा अतिमुच्य श्रोत्रादि आत्मभावं परित्यज्य ये श्रोत्रादि आत्मभावं परित्यजन्ति ते धीराः धीमन्तः. Atah means what? Therefore, what? Shrotra dehe. All the various faculties. Shrotra dehe, various faculties. Shrotradi lakshanam brahmeti viditva. That which is the ear of the ear or eye of the eye, by giving up identification with or that which is the ear of the ear or eye of the eye and so on, etc. When this is recognized by us, this is recognized by us, how that when this I-ness in the intellect, when this I-ness with the upadhi is given up. See, we alone are the immortal being and we alone are the individuality also. Go down, we alone are the waker also. And we alone are the sleeper also. Or go down further in the waker, we alone are the father, mother, daughter, sister also. So which one are we taking? As our Panchadashi says, are you the Gaunatma or the Mithyatma or the Mukhyatma? And we fall from the Mukhyatma only on account of identification. Mithyatma, the fall as Mithyatma comes about because of identification of the consciousness with the body. Gaunatma, the further fall comes when consciousness gets identified with other bodies. That is Gaunatma. And starts considering itself to have a certain identity with reference to whatever it has got identified with. It has forgotten that it is independent. It has forgotten that it is the continuous one. It has forgotten that it is one without a second. And therefore, it is told here that when we are when the association of the subject with the object is broken up, is made to be disidentified. How can you make it disidentified? You are the I. You are the I. When I say you are the pure consciousness, who is saying that I am the pure consciousness, isn't it? So, pure consciousness also I am, I also I am, the body also I am, the father, mother, daughter, sister also I am, and it becomes a big minestrone soup in our head. And this continuous flipping in and flipping out of these, when you are listening to satsang, aham brahmasmi. The moment satsang is over, aham dehosmi. Why? Now it's time to go to sleep. So if we have to abide in that, in the consciousness as the consciousness, first thing is, can you do anything about the objects in the world? Can you remove all of them? You can't. There is an infinite number of objects, not only on this planet, but if you look at the universe, how many stars will you remove? How many objects will you remove? How many forms you will remove? How many sounds you will remove? How many smells will you remove? Where will you keep running? It's impossible to turn away all the objects of knowledge, isn't it? Recognize this. So you cannot do anything with the world which is continuously coming to you in some form or the way as an object of knowledge. Can you remove the organs of action, the organs of perception, the pranas, mind, intellect? Can you remove? You did not create it. You found them when you were born. You can't do anything about it also. Yes, you can force yourself not to see, not to hear, not to touch, not to taste, not to smell. You can force yourself not to breathe, maybe for some time. There are masters who can do that. You can force yourself not to think, which will be Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But all these are temporary, forceful, with lot of effort, diligence, then they come about. And eventually we get exhausted if we try to control the faculties, control the various instruments of knowledge. And people try, isn't it? When they do yoga, when they do kundalini, when they do Raj Yoga, when they do whatever they practice, the japa, eventually you get exhausted. If you are genuinely doing it, a point will come where one will get exhausted of that practice. Because the whatever the practice you are doing, the joy that you are getting out of it, but energy is not there to continue it. Eventually sleep will come, tiredness will come, physical exhaustion will come. So the Upanishads do not target the object of knowledge, they do not target the instrument of knowledge, they target the knower. Because that I am, and that I can work upon. You are understanding what we are saying? Now, even if you bring Ishvara in, as in other Bhagavatam and all, even if you bring Ishvara in, you cannot do anything about Ishvara. If this world is Jeev Jagat Ishwar and their interaction thereof, you cannot do anything about the world, you cannot do anything about Ishvara. You cannot say why Ishvara is supporting this fellow and is condemning that fellow. It's his job. He created the creation. He can do whatever he wants. And when one realizes that they cannot do anything with the world of objects or the gods, then the question comes: then where I can, where I can bring about an influence so that I come to abide, I come to feel greater, I come to feel tranquil. Then he comes to himself. And when he comes to himself, then alone Upanishads will become valid. They are not here to establish the world. They are not here to establish the gods. They are here to establish the immortality subjectively for each person, not for someone else. So what is the instruction? If you cannot do anything about the world and you cannot do anything about the senses because you have done it and done and dusted and got exhausted. So now he says, don't allow the I that you are to be associated with the instruments of knowledge and the object of knowledge. What does it mean in other language? It means remain equanimous. It means remain witness. Don't become someone, because the moment you associate with the eyes, then you become a seer. If you associate with the tongue, you become the taster. If you associate with the mind, you become the thinker. If you associate with the waking world, the waking world is the object of knowledge in totality. You become the waker. Same way, a child comes, because you have taken that object of knowledge to be your daughter. So I am the father. So precipitation of the fatherhood. Where is it happening? That I alone is taking all these seer, hearer, toucher, thinker, knower, isn't it? The teacher is telling here, don't allow this association to happen. Be alert. Remain equanimous. Because association will trigger further association. But when we are disassociated with it, with all these three, body, mind, intellect, or gross body, subtle body, causal body, then these are coming and going, but this fellow is not getting triggered into any ownership or into any personality. What is that personality? He is not becoming the seer, he is not becoming the hearer, he is not becoming the thinker. But all these, waking is coming and going, the daughter is coming and going, the seeing is coming and going, the hearing is coming and going, but no precipitation of the owner of all these objects of knowledge. This is what we are trying to achieve. You getting it? He's going straight to the crux. Goal is not the world, goal is not the gods, goal is not the instruments of knowledge. Goal is only one of the Upanishads. To make the student, the seeker, be established in the pure consciousness, the infinite reality that he already is. That is the goal of the Upanishad. And it is such a conundrum that the only way it can be communicated is through words, and words themselves are relative. And relative words are talking about that which is absolute, into which the words have got no jurisdiction. You understanding? So it's a very, very fine dissection that is taking place here right now. And we have to be very alert, not objectively, but subjectively. Goal is not objective, goal is subjective. And here it says, where are we? ते धीराः धीमन्तः, such people who remain disassociated while everything is going on. Te dhiraha, they are called dhira purusha. This is maturity. This is wisdom. Maturity is not getting PhDs and knowing less and less of more and more, or sorry, more and more of less and less. That is not wisdom. If that knowing more and more of less and less, if it is directed towards Atma, then it is wisdom. Otherwise we just become educated fools, that's all. Then we are dealing only with the symptoms, not with the cause. Like when you have some pain, they give you a painkiller. They don't try to look for the cause. What is the, why? In 10 minutes the next patient has to come. Where's the time? Panadol दे दो, न्यूरोफिन ले लो, चल भाई मस्त रहे. See? So here we are not dealing with the symptoms. We are dealing with the, what is that because of which these symptoms appear. What are the symptoms? Seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, knowing, etc., 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 including the world which is the object of knowledge. ते धीराः धीमन्तः, नहि विशिष्ट धीमत्वम् अंतरेण श्रोत्रादि आत्मभावः शक्यः परित्युक्तम्. He says nahi. Therefore, this has there is nothing special other than giving up this identification. And the moment we give up this identification of what? The identification of I. You consider yourself I, isn't it? Instantaneously, the moment I is disassociated, instantaneously What instantaneously? What happens instantaneously? You are on top of the world, where the world cannot touch you, the world cannot influence you, the world cannot hijack you, the world cannot entangle you, the world cannot make you into an, it can never anyway. So you have conquered the world. Conquering the world is not parigraha. Parigraha means accumulation. Accumulations of relations, accumulation of diseases, accumulation of medicines, accumulation of properties, accumulation of everything. Accumulation of memories, yes. Accumulation of convictions. That is not equal to wisdom. The more we know that how little we know, isn't it? Naradji was master of 64 Vidyas, yet he was empty. He was not satisfied. Those stories don't come to trouble us. We don't get lost in the story. Understand the principle there. The only worthy point of contemplation is this point, which is the I. And that I am. So here the teacher is saying, do not associate, do not identify with the world first. With the world, how? Don't become the seer, don't become the hearer, don't become the word, etc., etc. Then don't, with respect to the mind, don't become the thinker, don't become the feeler of emotions. Let emotions come and go. Don't become the miserable one or the excited one. And this is the way to become the master of the world. This is the way to de-link from the mind. This is the way to shoot out of the gravity of the mind, of the body. Body meaning body, breath, mind, intellect. Shoot out, stand apart, watch that they are functioning of their own accord. Whether you want or you don't want, they do their job. Eyes do their job, ears do their job. But we have to become acutely aware of it. प्रेत्य व्यावृत्य अस्मात् लोकात् पुत्र मित्र कलत्र बंधुषु ममा मभाह, क्या है, मम अहभाव संव्यवहार लक्षणात् त्यक्त सर्वैषणा भूत्वेत्यर्थः अमृता अमरण धर्मणः भवन्ति. In other words, what he is saying here, therefore, at the moment of disassociation with what? We are not going into the names of relationships. We are not going into the names of is it the I or is it the... No, we are taking it as a general principle. What is that? Object of knowledge and instrument of knowledge. So, at the moment of disassociation, all mama and aham, all I and mine, that is, all I and mine relationship is given up. At the moment of disassociation. And this is not something rocket science. You're doing it every day. You're doing it every day, you're doing it all the time. Upanishad is only bringing the mirror to your face. That recognize that this is what is happening. And where does it happen? Very clearly seen. It happens in deep sleep, isn't it? Do you continue to lament that, oh, I am the mother, or I am the sister, or I am the brother, or I am the 50, whatever your drama is? Are you continuing to pull that drama into the sleep? You will never be able to sleep. But what happens there? Even though memories are coming, pictures are coming, sounds are, mental talk is going on. It goes on, no, when you go to bed. But you watch now, you disassociate with it. That's why you go to sleep. And why do you disassociate with it? Because you have your focus on something else. You understand? But the entire world as you know it in the waking, it leaves you. Why? It leaves you alone. Why? Because you consciously are disassociating with every thought that is popping up in the mind. And this is what you are doing, and this is what the Upanishad is talking about. It's not talking about something extraordinary or out of your ability or out of your capacity. You're doing it every day. If I am looking at the first frame of picture where Usha and Ravi are there, then I see Meena, then I see someone else, Balthasar, etc. But when I'm shifting my eye from this person to that person, am I carrying the memory of the previous person into the next person? No. Dissociation happened. Here also, when I'm talking to the Usha and Ravi, it doesn't come across within me that I'm only speaking to them. When I go to Meena, it doesn't feel that I'm only speaking to her. Eyes are going to them, Usha or to Ravi or to Meena, but no, oh, I'm only speaking to. ऐसे तो कुछ नहीं हो रहा है ना. और ये same thing is repeated more prominently when you go to sleep. All the stimuli are coming, memories are coming, unfinished business is coming into your mind. But you become unavailable to it, therefore it leaves you alone. Why you are unavailable to it? Because you are available to something else. What is that something else? Yes, in deep sleep, it is the concept called I want to go to sleep. But here, we are trying to recreate, so many times we have said, we are trying to recreate the state of deep sleep consciously. Imagine you are disassociating with everything, and instead of thinking of sleep, you are thinking, I am that infinite conscious. Excuse me. I am that infinite consciousness. Their sleep is also a thought, isn't it? Sleep is a thought to which you have got identified with, and the result is the entire gross world dissolves itself. Understand? Now the thought is Aham Brahmasmi, and with that thought depending upon our conviction and availability and uh, acceptance that I am that. To that level, not only the gross world which is waking, but also the dream and the deep sleep, all the three dissolve away. With respect to sleep, waking and dream dissolve away. With respect to the infinite consciousness, all the three dissolve away, or I should say all the four. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Turiya, all the three, four. Samadhi. All the four dissolve away. And what did we do to dissolve them? Nothing. Only disidentify. Meaning, stop giving value and importance. Now, tonight, when you go to sleep, those who are going to sleep, for some it is daytime. If you are taking an afternoon nap. So, when you are going to sleep, sometimes when you are having a cat nap or a power nap, you can hear all the sounds, you can hear the TV blaring, but you are available to the to the sleep within. And nothing that people are talking and you are not available to that talking. You can't even hear the sound. You can't hear the TV. You can't hear anything that is happening around you. Because we have disassociated with everything. Now that is the sandhi where instead of going to sleep or instead of going to samadhi, we can come back to the I that we are infinitely. Therefore, here it says, what is that? Putra mitra kalatra bandhushu mama ahambhava samvyavahara lakshanat tyakta sarvaishana. Sarvaishana, sarva eshana. What were the sarva eshana? First he did say, again he is saying it. Putra mitra kalatra bandhushu. What were the eshanas? Putreshana, desire for children. Lokeshana, desire for name and fame in the world, or desire to know the world. And it's world is infinite, so many things to know. Putreshna, Lokeshna, and what is the other one? Vitteshana, desire for wealth. So as long as these three are not cut off from our bosom, जब तक इसके चुंगल में फंसे हो तब तक आत्म साक्षात्कार, till then abiding in the reality is impossible. So so who is this for our now, because they talked about te dhiraha dhimantaha. Who is this dhira purush? Who is this dhira purush? It says न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेन नैके अमृतत्वमानशुः. In Kaivalya Upanishad it comes. He is he who has na karmana, na praja, na dhanena. Again same thing. Na karmana, without karma. without getting involved in activity, na prajaya, without getting involved in world as well as children, praja, and na dhanena, na dhanena, and not getting involved or desiring of the child. Tyagena eke amritatva manushu. By giving up these three, he comes to the one, that which is immortal. He is a Dhir Purush. What was told before? Dhir Purush is he who has disassociated himself from the organs of knowledge, sorry, not organs of knowledge, object of knowledge first and instrument of knowledge, isn't it? Same thing Kaivalya Upanishad is saying through this word na karmana. And what are we lost in? We saw Kaivalya Upanishad, isn't it? We have done Kaivalya, isn't it? ईशावास्य के पहले कैवल्य किया था ना, नहीं किया? Oh, okay. I thought we had done Kaivalya Upanishad.
This is the second Upanishad, Swami.
We didn't do Kaivalya Upanishad.
No, Swamiji.
Oh, okay. We'll do it next one then. So that straightforward, the Kaivalya Upanishad is seconding what this Upanishad is saying. Then paranchikhani vyatrinat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman. That self-established reality, not established by thought, not established by senses, not established by any other means, self-established. Swayambhu. Because that reality has made the senses become extrovert, and therefore they are committing suicide every moment. And therefore the jiva, who is jiva? Who is addicted to association. That consciousness which is addicted to associate with objects of, with instrument of knowledge, gets lost in the object of knowledge. Understand? And therefore here it says, and therefore the jiva only sees the things outside and is unavailable to the antaratma. See? Excuse me. Kaschid dhira pratyag atmanam ikshada avrutaschakshu amrutattvamichan. This comes in Kathopanishad. Any person, one person who is desiring immortality and by controlling his senses, he sees, by controlling his senses, he is able to see his pratyagatma, the immediate eye. He is able to. We can do that. Samadhi is that only, isn't it? So in this way, ityadi, okay, one more. Yada sarve pramuchyante kama yesya hridishritaha atra brahma samashnute. This also comes in Kathopanishad. That when all the desires from your heart are cut asunder, then when the Hridaya Granthi or the desires in your heart, the knot in your heart is cut, that very moment Brahmanubhuti takes place. And with these 3-4 examples, the ityadi shrutibhyaha, the same point that we were making before about dhira purusha, dhiraha dhimantaha, and where it was said that who is the wise one? The wise one he who is not associating with the instruments of knowledge as well as with the object of knowledge. Because if he associates, he becomes someone. If he associates with the object of knowledge, he will become Gaunatma. He will become father, mother, daughter, sister. Because the object is mother, daughter. With the daughter, he will become father. If the object of knowledge is mother, he will become the son. If the object of knowledge is the wife, he will become the husband. And if he has overcome that and he comes to the body, if he associates with eyes, he becomes the seer. If he associates with the tongue, he becomes the taster. And this way, what the Upanishad is trying to cut this link of becoming. Becoming is the error.
Swamiji, when you dissociate, why do we say two instrument of knowledge and object of knowledge? If instrument of knowledge, which is I, if it is not there, then object of knowledge would be gone, isn't it, Swamiji?
Yeah, but I cannot function without object. Subject cannot function without object.
That's why I'm saying that when the I is gone, then we don't need to talk about.
Yeah, that is another approach. That is another approach. That is Raman Maharishi's approach. We are studying Kathopanishad, Kenopanishad.
Okay, Swamiji.
Here we are studying Kenopanishad, and this is every Upanishad will take a different route, but bring you to the same. So don't get caught up in what he said or she said. Be aware.
Yeah.
But good question. Good question.
Thank you, Swamiji.
So that Raman Maharishi said. Previous Upanishad said something else. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. Here the approach is totally different. Here straight away goal is not association or disassociation. That is the prakriya. That is what has to be brought about. That is not our goal. Goal is immortality. Goal is pure consciousness. Now, because there is an interaction happening, because we have not recognized ourselves as we are, where is the error taking place? Where is the error taking place? Error is taking place where the I associates with the senses, faculties. That is called mithya. When it associates with the faculties, the senses, the organs of actions, and the pranas, and the mind, and the intellect, it is called mithyatma. Understand? And when it gets associated with the object of knowledge, that means that which is apprehended by the senses, illuminated by the senses and the mind. What is that? The object of knowledge. And when we forget the sense, the instrument of knowledge also, and we dive straight away into the object of knowledge, then we are the Gaunatma. Then we are the Gaunatma. So same idea which was given in Panchadashi, which I think you also were there for that one.
Yes.
And same idea is told here also, but in a different language. That let the I not associate with the instrument of knowledge, and let it not associate with the object of knowledge. Because that's where we find now you are asking me a question.
Yes.
Why did you ask me a question? Because you are associated with the intellect. Sorry to take your example. You are associated with the intellect rather than being associated with the pure conscious principle that I am. not as a thought, not as a thought, as the being, as the being, not as a thought.
Yeah.
We can repeat word consciousness, consciousness for zillions of years, still nothing will happen. But we have to, Atma Bhavena, 2 times it has told, come here now. Yeah, I am that. So, just as in deep sleep, there is no perception of differences. The one who is established in this I, which is free of all association with the instruments of knowledge and objects of knowledge, for him also there is no perception of differences then, because he is established in himself. He cannot say that I am established. He is not doing anything to establish. All he is aware that he must not associate. Tyag, chapter 18 also is talking about renunciation and tyag, isn't it? Sannyas and tyag. Are we wanting to be immortal after death? Eventually body will be given up. No. We are seeking immortality while living, isn't it? While living. You can stay with this knowledge. And with this knowledge, when this body stops expressing consciousness, you will be one with consciousness because you are only contemplating on it. Such a person is realized master, yes. Because whole life he was only talking about consciousness. But is he abiding in consciousness? If he is abiding in consciousness, then it is Jivan Mukta Purush. Jivan Mukta Purush is not posthumous. Jivan Mukta Purush is while living. And therefore, Dhira Purusha, when such a person, न कर्मणा न प्रजा देना, ये सब देख लिया. अथवा अतिमुच्येत्य न, व्हाट इज दैट, अथवा अतिमुच्येत्यनेनैवैषणा त्यागस्य सिद्धत्वाद् अस्मान् लोकात् प्रेत्य अस्मात् शरीराद् अपेत्य मृत्वेति इति अर्थ, मृतौ iti artha. So what is he saying? He is saying that he who has given up the 3 eshnas, putreshna, vitteshna, lokeshna, the 3 eshna, eshna tyagasya siddhatvad. That means now he is not succumbing to it even an iota. Understand what you are saying? He is not succumbing to it. There is no urge from inside to get involved in putreshna, lokeshna and vitteshna. And he has given up the word atimuchya. The word atimuchya establishes that, and ataha asmat lokat pretya, we have asmat lokat pretya asmat sharirad apetya mrityartha. With this we should understand that what I said before, we should understand that it is not at the end of life, when the body has died. After that, no. After the body is given up, then we are not talking about immortality. We are talking about immortality while living. But both way is okay. How does it matter? But the seeker here, the student here, he wants to know it now. He wants to know it now. When do you want to know? After retirement? After you have made, we have become secure? When do we want to come to know this immortal nature of ours? So in this way, so what is the sadhana? What is the time? 8:40. So what is this sadhana that that this, when he says atimuchya asma, where are we? That atimuchya muchyate muchyeta anena eva eshana tyagasya. Muchya means to give up. Tyaga is atimuchya, to give up, throw away, discard. Atimuchya instantly, not slowly. Those who are doing Kundalini, those who are doing yoga, first they want to learn all the 64 asanas, then they want to do pranayam, then they will come to pratyahar, then they will come to dharana, dhyan, then they will give up by going into samadhi. And why the samadhi doesn't remain continuously? Because they started straight away from the asana. They didn't do the first two steps, yam niyam. See, if they did the first two steps of yama niyam, rest of the steps would have been taken care of. Rest of the steps would have been taken care of. Just as in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the asana and all is talked about only in the second chapter, in the middle of the second chapter. But if you take the first three sutras of the Patanjali, story is over. You don't need to study rest of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. 572 or 74 sutras. Atha yoganuशासनम चित्त वृत्ति निरोधः इति योगा तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानम. This is the instruction of yoga, first sutra. Second, what was it? Mental block, क्या था? चित्त वृत्ति निरोधः इति योगा. चित्त, mind, vritti, thoughts, nirodha, disassociate. I'm taking a different interpretation of it. Then what do you do when you disassociate? Tada, then, drashtuhu, see, swarupe, your own self, avasthanam, establish. Now after that, what is left? Nothing. Then after that, nothing needs to be studied. But we are not qualified. We create problems for ourselves by thinking, by objectification, by identification with the senses, organs or faculties. And so we start contemplating. We think we are the mind. So we ask about the mind. When the teacher tells you about the mind, you are not able to understand. Then he talks to you about the God, Ishvara. Then in that also you find some fault in yourself. I can't contemplate on the Lord. Nothing is happening. No experience is happening. What to do? Then he says, okay, live in the world in this manner. Yama niyama. No, that is also very difficult. Then you say, okay, do asan. And then he tells, do Ashtanga Yoga. And when he finishes with the Ashtanga Yoga, then he says, when the Ashtanga Yoga is finished, then you will start getting Siddhis. Now the student gets excited. But then he says, as he is explaining the Siddhis, if you focus here, this will happen. If you do this, because Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, how to do. But see, I'm not going into a Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but what I'm saying is, first three sutras were complete in themselves. The rest of the 571 sutras or so were only because of the ignorance of the student. So the first verse is telling, if the student is qualified, the second verse, first verse of the question, second verse answers you everything. If our attention is on the subject, the I. And very simple, let I not associate with the instruments of knowledge and instruments of knowledge and objects of knowledge. Keep this thought in your mind while you are functioning all the time. So what is this Atimuchya? Instantly what we have to give up? To grow out of the limitations of the gross world, the subtle world and the causal world. You cannot do the practice in the causal world or the subtle world at present. We must do the practice always in the gross world, not in imagination. No, when I go to sleep, I will do, in the dream, I will do the sadhana. Forget it. Sadhana can be done only in the waking. If it spills over into the dream, by God's grace it will happen. But don't try to do that. You will go to sleep. So what is the first word? First rule in the scheme of this sadhana for being Atimuchya, to give up, to be not be influenced by the world. First is, do not allow the gross world to influence us. How do we not allow the gross world? Gross world means this waking world. Gross world means that which you can see, hear, touch, feel, taste, objectively.
Associate.
Do not associate with it. That's right. Again, we're just recapping the whole thing. Don't associate. The moment you associate, you have become a slave. The moment you associate with one man, you have become a slave called wife for the rest of the life, and vice versa. Now, this is the topic here, okay? In Amrit Anubhav, we approach it in a different manner. We must be open to all interpretations. Point is not the interpretation. Point is to come back to the consciousness. How can you say that? The one who is thinking, how can he say like that? Then your attention is on the relationship, which is more important than pure consciousness. So don't let the gross world influence us. Then at the mind level, don't let the experience influence us. This is the second. How do the experiences influence us? By way of memory, when we have divided them into likes and dislikes, then they influence us. If we have precipitated any experience into I like or I dislike, gone. You are at its mercy then. It will pop up whenever it wants to under the right circumstances. So first was the gross world. Don't let it, and in that gross world comes your gross body also. Because gross body is a part of the gross world. Then second is the subtle. What is subtle? The mind. Let the mind not influence us. Don't let the experiences affect us. Remain immune. We are not saying touch me not. Do the drama everywhere, but don't get caught up in anything. See? Feel all emotions, but don't become emotional. This is called don't let the mind experiences affect us. Feel the emotions. Let the mind feel the emotions. That is its job. You don't tell the eyes, don't stop seeing, don't stop looking this way or that, don't stop blinking. You don't say that. You don't tell the nose, don't smell this, don't smell that. Smells. You didn't create. Whatever is coming, it smells. You don't tell the ears, don't listen. Whatever sound comes, it listens. It eliminates that. Same way, mind's job is to think, is to experience. So let it experience. You don't associate with that experience. Then it will not affect us. If we don't associate with the mind, because when does the experience affect us? When we say it is I had this experience, isn't it? I got associated with the experience in the mind. Cut this cord. And the third step, again I'll repeat, first was don't let the gross world influence us, influence me. Don't let the experiences in the mind affect us. We remain disassociated with the experiences. And the third one is that we cease to be the experiencer. Experiencer will precipitate only if he is giving value to the faculties or to the world. Only then. Stop giving value to the faculties, stop giving value to the world. Experiencer vanishes. Where does the experiencer of the gross world vanish? At night. Today you will experience it. From morning till evening, you have been bombarded with stimuli, various experiences, various events, various foods, various sounds, various forms, good, bad, ugly, etc. Now satsang, after that food, then you will go to sleep. Where is this experiencer going? He was experiencing the gross world only because he was giving value to it. Now when he goes to sleep, why is he going to sleep? Because he is giving value to sleep. Is the sleep a part of the gross world? No. You understand? Same way, because and why you are giving value to the sleep, why you are thinking about sleep, even though the thought of sleep is not equal to the actual sleep, then why you are giving it? Because you have collected data about it. That sleep, all the clutter of the mind stops, self-talk stops, all the load of the daytime of the waker and responsibilities, I just leave it. I become light when I go into sleep. I am in a blissful state. And one more data, that you get rejuvenated when you get up next morning, fully rested and ready to take on the world all over again. And we are in the same cycle. Again, we will do the same mistakes of associating with the world, get exhausted, think of sleep, again disassociate with the waking world and the dream world, and eventually fall into the sleep where you don't know you are sleeping and get up again in the morning refreshed, and again the same cycle begins. We are trying to break that cycle. And the cycle is to be refreshed once and for all, forever and ever and ever and ever. No more getting exhausted and going to sleep and majburi ka naam Mahatma Gandhi. The world has to leave us if we are going to sleep. But that sleep is coming out of exhaustion. If you are not exhausted, sleep will not come. If you are not tired, sleep will not come. So we want to get to such a disposition wherein we remain 110% all the time, fully fresh all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year, under all sets of circumstances. All sets of circumstances, in and through all the conditioning, time, space and objectivity. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. How? Just like you become nobody in the sleep and nobody is very happy, blissful in deep sleep, you be nobody consciously. You be nobody consciously. Don't become someone. Even if the senses are functioning, the mind is functioning, don't become someone. So first, do not allow the objects of the world to influence you. That was the first one. Second was, do not allow the experience of the objective world to affect you through emotions, convictions, judgment, biasness, etc., etc., likes, dislikes. That's how the experience affects us. And third, do not become the experiencer. Do not become the experiencer. Cease to be the experiencer. Again, same thing. Do not allow the I to associate with the instruments of knowledge and object of knowledge. Same thing I told you from the other way, in a different words. See? So in this manner, as gross body is given up, the immortality is attained. But the Upanishads do not talk of giving up the gross body and attaining immortality. That's what I was telling you before. They are talking about, Upanishads do not talk about posthumous Jivan Mukti. They are talking about Jivan Mukti while living, not when gross body is dropped. So the Upanishads are talking about, if you take these steps, give up association with the gross world, give up association with the experience, and give up the experiencer himself. Stop becoming the experiencer. So this is step by step. You started from outside, then you came to the faculties, then you came to the I, isn't it? It became Krama Mukti. Mooladhar to Sahasrar, Krama Mukti. Ashtanga Yog, Krama Mukti. Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, Krama Mukti. Krama means step by step. Here it is step by step. And in this way, we can become free while living. So now here it says, what is the time? Oh, perfect. 9 o'clock. Yasmat shrotradehe api shrotradi atmabhutam brahma ataha. As this Brahman is substratum of all these faculties, therefore the third verse begins. I'll read it and then we'll look at it next week. Na tatra chakshur gacchati. Therefore, because Brahman is the substratum of all faculties, therefore, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, na manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yatha etad anushishyad, anyadeva tad viditad atha, aviditad adhi, iti shushruma purvesham, ye nastad vyacha chakshire. What happens after therefore? We'll look at it next time. Otherwise, if I start even telling about the verse itself, it will take another 10-15 minutes because I'll lose it. I'll get lost in it. But you must have got the idea. Na chakshur, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati. The eyes cannot see it, the ear cannot hear it. Who? The Brahman. And so on. Now you can imagine. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.